Now available on Kickstarter, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this all-new Kickstarter exclusive John Haynes comic book. Put in your pledge and get the standard, variant, or retro covers of John Haynes at Death's Door and other great stretch goal rewards on Kickstarter today. There's a major difference in between the image of power between the way white and non-black men see black men and how black men view ourselves. Now, image is a powerful thing, and if you understand how to use image, you can define how a community sees itself. Now, on the right is the image of Miles Morales as Thor from What If number 4, where Miles Morales becomes Thor. And on the right is an image from the splash page of John Haynes in John Haynes at Death's Door, my comic that I have coming up on Kickstarter. And on both of these images, it tells a story on the perception of power between black and white. Now, on the right is how your whites and non-blacks depict a black man with power, with the image of What If Miles Morales became Thor, and on the right is the image of John Haynes from the splash page of my comic, John Haynes at Death's Door. Now, we see on the left the image of Miles Morales supposed to be having power, but this image really insults every heterosexual black man out here. And it insults heterosexual black men because it says that in order for a black man to have power in a white society, that he has to be infantilized and made to appear to be childish. Because let's look at your Miles Morales and the interpretation of Asgard, and it's a real slap in the face to all the black men out here as related to the power of Thor, as related to the representation of black men. I mean, look at this image of this black man, and we have a black man dressed like a child with his Air Jordan sneakers and a hoodie, and basically turning a supposedly one of the most powerful gods into basically a child. So they have taken this image of a black man and infantilized him. Even worse, they have reinforced a whole host of stereotypes on the image of the black man. So instead of us seeing a Thor like we did in the comics, who is shown to be a grown man wielding power, we see a black boy presented in an infantilized fashion, wearing infantilized clothes like sneakers and a hoodie, and he's got his hammer all decked out with a whole bunch of graffiti, and his neighborhood has a rainbow bridge which is covered in graffiti. So they are really saying a lot of things about black men in this one image. One, they are saying that the black man is not a full-grown man. Two, they are saying that the black man cannot lead and control his community because graffiti is only sprayed in neighborhoods where there are no black men in charge, because I know I grew up in a black community from the late 1970s all the way to now, and I can tell you the poorest communities had graffitis on the wall because there were no men in charge of that community. Now, if you went to black communities that were controlled by black men, such as Sugar Hill and Strivers Row, during the days of Jim Crow, you would not see any graffiti represented as something black. No, because the men and women of that community had standards for their neighborhood. They would not tolerate their neighborhood being covered in graffiti because they worked for their property, they maintained their property, and they kept it clean. So what they are saying here with this graffiti is, oh, these black people, if they were to run a realm like Asgard, they would not have any sort of standards for their community. So that's a racist slap in the face to black people with this image, and it says that black people do not have power over themselves and power over their community to establish a standard for their community. And that is the view that the white leftist has of black people, that we are not capable of being leaders, we are not capable of being authority figures, we are not capable of having standards, and we would turn any neighborhood we lived in into a so-called hood. And that's an insult to say that, oh, a black person, if they had the power of a god, would go out here and turn their neighborhood and their realm into one big ghetto. Again, this is a slap in the face to black people with this image. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, there's nothing wrong with Miles Morales having the Jordans. No, that's not part of who we are. That is what the white supremacist wants to see us in. And this image is all about showing what the white supremacist sees as his definition of black. And that's what this whole issue of Miles Morales as Thor is all about, showing us how the white supremacist sees black people. And it's a real insult because it says that black people, if you gave them power, they would not be able to be responsible with it. That's the same message that racists gave when they did the movie The Birth of a Nation. Now, in the days of Jim Crow, in the movie The Birth of a Nation, the white supremacist said that if he gave the black man power, he would not be responsible with it, and he would look to go out here and use it to terrorize white women, and that's why they needed the Klansmen. And that's where the racism of this Thor image shows how your white and non-black racists depict black men, again depicting us as big and powerful, but not being in a place where we can show real power as related to having control over ourselves or having power over our own image, to say that we are not going to be defined by your stereotypes. Now, in contrast, the splash page for John Haynes at Death's Door, when I designed this image and I commissioned Antonio Balderi to do this page, I wanted to present an image of a black man who knew how to have power. Now, when I created the concept of John Haynes and the whole concept of a black man I wanted him to be a black man in power, and I wanted to show how a responsible black man would go out here and have power. Now, when a black man in media is shown with power, oftentimes they don't really show him like the way I'm presenting him. In this image, we have an image of a black man who is a powerful man. He is inside of his penthouse with a view of the Empire State Building. He has a large television screen behind him, and he's looking and waiting to go start his work day. So in this image, I'm showing you a black man who has power, and he's in a place where it's well taken care of. It is big, it is bright, it is extremely well lit, and this responsible brother is looking to start his work day. And I wanted to show this image because I believed it was very important for all of the young brothers and sisters out here, because oftentimes when we get shown an image of black men, we don't get to see an image of a black man who has power and is responsible with that power to know how to go about taking care of his business. Yes, the image of Miles Morales as Thor is bright and flashy, but there's a lot of substance to the image of John Haynes standing here. He's standing in his penthouse where there's a waterfall, where there's a picture of Campbell's soup, and a private elevator. Again, he's got all of these great amenities inside of his penthouse, and he's still looking to get ready to take care of business because he knows he needs to be responsible about it, taking care of his business so that he can continue remaining inside of that penthouse, which has a view of one of the most prestigious landmarks here in New York State, the Empire State Building. So in this image, I've got New York landmarks similar to the Thor image, but we see that this black man is here ready to take care of business. He's got a neat, meticulous living room. He's got all of the amenities to be able to entertain guests, and he's got himself in a place where he's looking to go out here and look over his schedule. He's ready to be serious about taking care of business, and he's ready to be seen as someone people take seriously. Now, that's the kind of image I want to go out here and give young brothers and sisters regarding the image of black men, because for too long we have seen the image of black men infantilized in comic books, and in comic books and other media we see that the black man has been brought down to the role of the black boy, like a Miles Morales, with a childish view of the world, whereas when we look at John Haynes, we see a man ready to take care of adult business, and this man is ready to take care of adult business because he is dressed and ready for work. He is ready to take care of professional business, and that is something we need to see more images of black men as, because the more images of black men that we see, like a John Haynes, the more we want to take a black men seriously. And that's one of the reasons why, again, I did this splash page like this, because I wanted to show that if you gave a black man power, he would know how to go out here and use that power, and he would use that power towards maintaining his community and being a leader and an authority figure in his community. So it's, to me, very important for everybody to understand that black men, when you give them a position of power, you're going to get an image like a John Haynes, and that's an image of black manhood and black masculinity I want to go out here and promote, because we need to see more images of black men who are out here focused, out here serious about their business, and out here ready to take care of business on the job and take care of business in the community. It's very important for people to see black men like this, because in mainstream media, oftentimes we get the Miles Morales infantilized images, and these images really all they do is present a picture of, when you give a black man power, he does not have the character or resolve to know how to use that power, because that's what you see when you look at a Miles Morales as Thor. What you see with that image is you see an image of a black man who he doesn't know how to use his power. He doesn't know how to go out here and use that power in the right way. And he doesn't know how to use that power in a way that would show he's ready for the responsibilities of manhood, because a man who is ready to go out here and show that he's ready to use that power responsibly, he's not going to be dressed up in J's and a hoodie. No, he's going to be dressed in a suited and booted, ready to take care of some business, and also talking about helping out other brothers and bringing up other brothers. So that's what a responsible black man would be looking like and presenting his image of, because he knows that the image of himself reflects on the world. And when you look at this image of Miles Morales as Thor, this does not really present an image of black manhood or black masculinity. It just presents another stereotypical image of a big black boy who doesn't know how to take care of business as a man. So what I wanted to do with John Haynes is, again, show the image of black manhood we usually don't get to see, an image of the brothers out here who are suited, booted, and ready to take care of business, suited, booted, and responsible enough to maintain a luxurious penthouse like the one that John lives in at the Morris Phillips Tower, with a view of New York landmarks like the Empire State Building. We don't get to see these kinds of images of black men out here that often, and that's with the image that I imagine a black man as having, and that's the kind of image I want young brothers and sisters to see as the image of black manhood and black masculinity. Because when I want people to imagine a black man, I want them to see that a black man can go out here and have this kind of power, be responsible enough to have their home well maintained, and is looking to make sure that their community meets a standard just like the standard of his home. That's the kind of black man I grew up with my father and my brother, and that's the kind of black men I saw all throughout my community who were trying to keep things up to a standard, the few that were remaining there. I mean, yes, I lived in a ghetto in the South Bronx, and people did have graffiti like this, but a lot of the brothers and sisters there, they weren't with that. They wanted to have a community like the one I'm showing here with John Haynes. They wanted to have that, and they wanted to have that standard of living just like the one I'm showing here. And I've seen this all throughout history when I was doing research for books like Spellbound. I mean, places like Sugar Hill, again, one of the highest parts of the black community, one of the most prominent parts of the black community. Everything was it's just like what I'm showing you in this image of John Haynes in this penthouse. That was the standard of living brothers and sisters had, not this whole hood and street thing that the mainstream media likes to push with token characters like Miles Morales. What they want to do with Miles Morales is say, oh, this is what a black person would look like if they had the power of a god. Well, with the character of John Haynes, I call him the man who rules the world, because a CEO has that same kind of power like one of these mythical deities in the black community. And this is what happens when you give a black man that kind of power. He is going to, again, look to have a standard for himself, a standard for how he lives. And as a servant of the Most High, he's looking to go out here and do God's work on earth in maintaining a standard, because as a steward, he's going to be responsible for his community and make sure that his community has the same standard of living that he is having right here in this penthouse. So that's what I wanted to say with the John Haynes character. And again, an image says a lot about people. I mean, when I looked at this Miles Morales image, it just didn't say anything about black manhood. It was just a black stereotype. But I wanted to show you a balanced image in contrast, because it's these kind of images that I grew up watching on the Cosby Show that really shaped how I started to see black people. And seeing those images on shows like the Cosby Show made me realize why it's important for there to be publishers out here like SJS Direct to present you positive, balanced, and humanized images of black men who have power, and show those black men using their power to go out here and empower other black people, and showing that as a model and an example of how a black man leads in his community. That's what I wanted to show with the John Haynes character, that yes, he's got the power of a CEO. Yes, he runs one of the most multinational corporations in the world, but as a steward of the Most High, his job is to empower those brothers and sisters by getting them jobs, keeping them in jobs, and keeping them able to continue going about their business. That's a core part of the John Haynes character that is core to his story, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the John Haynes character, because we need more characters like John Haynes out there to show people positive, balanced images of black manhood and black masculinity, something we don't get in mainstream media with Miles Morales, who is just a big stereotype that presents the repackaging, basically, of the Black Brute. I mean, we've got with his frosted Bobby Brown flat top and his hoodie and his sneakers, again, infantilizing the black man and not showing us an image of actual manhood, something we desperately need because people talk about diversity, but what we get from mainstream is not a diversity of thought like we have here with this image of John Haynes. We don't get this type of image in media much today. And what we get is a lot of Miles Morales telling us this is black, but this is not black at all. If you study black history like I have for books like those in the John Haynes series, books like Spellbound, and books like ISIS, Imitation of Life, the image of black manhood is really, we don't really get to see it much that often, and that's something that I try to correct by doing books in the John Haynes series, because I want to give people an image of accurate black manhood and black masculinity in the pages of the John Haynes series. Because one of the things racists love to say is that black people are savage, black people are violent. They like to go out here and say that we cannot go out here and run a realm unless they are in charge, like with Wakanda. Wakanda is made up by white people and their perception of how we would run a kingdom. But when I went out here and created the John Haynes character, I wanted to show an image of how we saw ourselves and what would happen if we were in power. And again, it's a major contrast in between black and white when you look at their images of power. When you look at their images, like you look at their Wakanda in the 2018 Black Panther movie, and you look at this Miles Morales as Thor, oftentimes they always try to throw their stereotypes into it. But when I go out here, a black creator, and show you an image of black manhood, it's a completely different picture, and it's one that more people need to see. And that's one of the reasons why I came out with this Kickstarter this year, because I wanted to show you a true, real image of what it looks like when a black man has power, and when a black man has to take on those who would challenge his power, like Thanatos does in the comic John Haynes at Death's Door. I really want to show you how black men wield power and how black men are responsible when wielding that power. That's something many in the mainstream media don't want you to see, because they fear a black man having power. They fear that he will go out here and compete against them. And that's what I show you here, a black man suited, booted, and ready to go out here and compete, and ready to take on those challenges in a responsible and conscientious fashion. So I wanted to show you a difference between the way whites and non-blacks see black people, like with this Miles Morales as Thor image, versus the image of John Haynes, where here is a black man presenting his presentation of black, and showing you that when you put a black man in a position of power, he is ready to take care of business. Now, my new comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Kickstarter, and if you want to put in a pledge to see the man who rules the world take on the Greek god of death, you can put in a pledge and you'll get that comic. All the pages by Antonio Balderi are done, all the lettering is done, and I've prepared the files, and all I need are your pledges to get this comic printed. And all I'm doing right now is trying to get to the stretch goal level and offer you guys a great print, and after that I'll be putting more stretch goals on, and you'll be able to enjoy all the stretch goals of the John Haynes Kickstarter once you put in a pledge by clicking a link in the description box. And if you want to learn more about John Haynes' story, you can head over to Amazon.com and pick up all of the books in the John Haynes saga so far: The Temptation of John Haynes, The Man Who Rules the World, John Haynes, A Conversation with Death, John Haynes, Dark Succubus, John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business, and the ISIS tie-ins: ISIS Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, ISIS Bride of Dracula, ISIS Night of the Vampires, and ISIS Escape from Transylvania. You can pick up all of those books featuring John Haynes on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to see me make more videos about comics like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a wicked werewolf in this action-packed all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Horror of the Hyena Woman in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. Sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.